We are standing in front of Law's Whiskey Sanctuary, which is located just south of downtown Denver in a historic industrial neighborhood nested between Broadway and Lincoln and the train tracks. The Law's team came to Boss Architecture, tasking us to create a piece of architecture that was the brand experience for their distillery and their company. This building is a tasting facility, it's a chapel, it's a tour, it's a bar, it's a bookend between the grain silos and the distillery. The existing distillery is right next door. It's a 1950s cinder block warehouse building. And so you don't have to look much further to find inspiration for materiality. We took the same cinder block and used that as our express building material. The sanctuary is really a brutalist building, which is our favorite style of architecture, but it also is a style of architecture that marries up perfectly with whiskey. It's very honest, it's very open, it's very raw, it's very vulnerable, but it's ultimately very beautiful.
When guests arrive at the sanctuary, the owners wanted them to have a moment of rest and a moment to slow down. And so we did that intentionally by bringing the CMU block from the outside inside, creating a really basic palette with this burnished concrete floor, and then matching that with really dark painted tones and materials. The texture of the walls is emblematic of a charred whiskey barrel, and that's core of the character of how whiskey is made at Law's. So against this neutral palette and these dark tones that you'll see throughout the space are pops of local artwork. And that artwork is curated and it rotates through and it creates beautiful visual interest. The steel stair was constructed by Joan of Arc, and it is intentionally meant to connect the height and volume of this space up through to the skylight and up to the upstairs bar. And the stair is articulated by a series of white steel bars that contrast against the black interior silo. From this space, guests make their way to the chapel to start their whiskey experience. When guests come into the whiskey chapel, the goal is to create a moment of compression and quiet with dark materials and quiet colors. But then it opens up into this 2-story volume at the chapel window looking out onto the silo yards. In the chapel, the pulpit is really the place where we present the grain, which is the hero of Law's whiskey. And then guests sit in these pews, which were made by all Law's, and that's where they learn about the process of making whiskey. And we use these hidden lecture boards so that there's a way to understand and illustrate the different steps of the process. After guests leave the chapel, they walk across the silo yard through this breezeway and into the distillery itself. And that's where they get to see how and where the whiskey is actually made in all of its steps and where it's barreled. And then they come back through the breezeway and into a small private tasting bar that is a nice little surprise. It's where you end your experience. The space is meant to take away the distractions of the world and just give you a moment with neat whiskey.
As the guests come to the sanctuary and have gone through the tour, they ultimately culminate at the cocktail bar and lounge. And this space is intentionally designed to elevate their experience by introducing them to craft cocktails. The bar itself is designed to enhance one of Law's philosophies, which is really to bring community together. And the curvature of the bar allows guests to look each other in the eyes and engage in conversation. Nah House was our partner in creating this bar, and without them, we couldn't have achieved such an elegant solution. Bar top is warm woods. The furniture in the lounge are deep, rich leathers set against plush furnishings. And all of that is set against the backdrop of the raw concrete and CMU walls. Beyond the curvature of the bar is the focal point of the room, which is the chapel window, which peeks up from below and reminds us of how important the grain and the ingredient is in this process.
So the sanctuary thing stems back to gargoyles. Our holding company's Gargoyle Enterprises. We really like them. They're on my arms and all that kind of stuff. Is that they're there to protect cool buildings because they scare off evil spirits. Well, we're a spirits company, so drink no evil. Just enjoy the good spirits. without Boss, without them pushing it forward, this would have never got built.
And so what we had to discover was how to create a building that expressed that simple aesthetic without over exaggerating it and really celebrate the brand experience of what Law's Whiskey has to offer.
While they take no shortcuts at Law's when they're producing their whiskey, we also had to sort of take the time and have intention in what we were doing and how we were detailing these basic materials to achieve, a really elegant building.
When people come to visit the Whiskey Sanctuary, they aren't necessarily whiskey experts, and they definitely might not know anything or have any interest in architecture, but you can see as they experience the space and they go through the different moments that they are connecting the place and the brand, and that they leave being part of Law's Whiskey.
Drink no evil.
Drink no evil.